Hello everyone, Alec Elger the SideQuest Gamer here, and as you all probably know at this point, the SNES Classic Edition was announced by Nintendo of America and is slated for a September 29th release, and honestly, despite the mini retro callback console having many games from my favorite console of all time being the Super Nintendo, I'm honestly not really excited for it. Let me explain. Now, this isn't Nintendo's first attempt at a retro callback console, as there was the NES Classic Edition with 30 games all for $60. I was so excited for that, even though I played most of those games, but it was an opportunity for kids to experience the NES library in HD. Problem was, Nintendo understocked it to probably artificially increase demand and then discontinued it months later, which really sucks. All the people who do have it are adults who went into the collecting business, and boy did scalpers take advantage of the rarity of it. This disappointed me because it was such a great idea, yet Nintendo had to ruin everything by shipping limited quantities. I know it wasn't going to have a supply as large as the Wii U at the time, but I at least wanted there to be enough shipments for everyone who wanted an NES Classic Edition. It can't be due to a lack of supplies because it's an emulation machine. It's very basic, with an operating system meant only to emulate 30 games and allow for different resolution options. And knowing Nintendo, there's a high probability that the Super NES Classic Edition will suffer similar stocking issues. Look, I'm no fortune teller and I definitely admit that, but for the love of Hylia, I hope my predictions don't come true. I don't like being skeptical. It's not like I choose to be skeptical for clicks and views. No, I'm just naturally skeptical when a company has done similar things in the past and just led to disappointment. I just don't want the same thing to happen over and over again. But despite my skepticism, the SNES Classic Edition has a great assortment of titles. Super Mario World 1 and Yoshi's Island, those games are really amazing platformers that still stand the test of time. Heck, finally we have a version of Yoshi's Island that isn't the GBA version. F-Zero and Super Mario Kart are quite fun, and I really suck at both of them. But I never played them on co-op, and I really want to try it out. A Link to the Past and Super Metroid are amazing games, easily in my top 5 favorite games of all time. They're that good, and I do hope that newer generations love these games as much as I do, and many others. Street Fighter 2 is pretty fun. Super Punch-Out is a pleasant surprise since not many people talk about that sequel. Mega Man X is a game no self-respecting SNES buff can go without. Yes, some may be disappointed that X2 and X3 aren't on there, but I respect that decision, even though X2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, Mega Man games to a casual are more of a you played one, you played them all deal, so for a non-Mega Man fan, this is probably the only X game they have any interest in playing. Earthbound is a good addition since it's a game my fellow millennials seem to enjoy, probably a lot more than those who actually grew up with an SNES. I say it's one of those life after death scenarios when it comes to this game's legacy, but RPG fanatics may rejoice at this announcement. Final Fantasy III aka 6's inclusion I'm quite happy to hear about. That's one of my favorite RPGs of all time, but I'm quite surprised 2 wasn't included or even put in its place since it seemed to be more console defining than its sequel, even though I like the sequel a lot better. Donkey Kong Country 1 you can't go without since it's the second best selling SNES game on the console if I'm not mistaken. I know some people, like myself, believe 2 to be a lot better than the first one, but at the same time it wasn't as console defining. Contra 3 is hard but quite fun, while Super Ghouls and Ghosts, it's harder to like that one since the game was designed with rather clunky controls. I honestly couldn't get into it, but Contra 3, however, is quite hectic. I really enjoy that one. I do suck at that one, but it's actually what I want to go back to and just get better and better at the game. While Super Ghouls and Ghosts is one of those, you have to really enjoy the control scheme to enjoy the game. Secret of Mana is an action RPG that's kind of overrated to be honest. Super Castlevania 4, however, is a lot of fun. Kirby Superstar is quite good, especially if you're a Kirby fan. But I'm surprised Star Fox and its sequel were included, especially the sequel since it was never released until now. And I love both games. Yeah, the frame rate isn't the best, and the criticisms against it are warranted. But to me at least, it's surprisingly a small issue in a game like this. In fact, I always like the untextured polygons as there's some bright orange colors for the weak spots, which really gives a unique art style. And the banter between the 2D sprite animals is quite a unique charm. Yes, Star Fox has its limitations and the sequel is no exception, but the games I believe still hold up despite these issues. The frame rate is never so low, it's unplayable. In fact, it only dips in a few levels, and dare I say help you out in some of the trickier, fast-moving boss battles. These two games, even though Star Fox 2 has circulated around the internet, it'll be nice to see what adjustments Nintendo will make to it. But unless Nintendo actually restocks these consoles this time, I likely won't be one of those people finding out for myself. I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have to fight to buy a product from the seller. It should be the other way around, where they fight for me to buy the product with my hard-earned money. All customers deserve the chance to buy something they would be willing to pay full price for. Not the scalper's price, just the $80 asking price. It's only logical from a business perspective because, more units made plus more people demanding it equals more units sold, which equals profits. Why is it so hard to understand that last time? Regardless, we'll see what happens in a few months when it comes out in September. If I'm wrong, I will rejoice, but if I'm right, I have nothing to celebrate. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on the SNES Classic Edition. Are you excited for the games announced for it? Thank you all so much for watching, and remember to stay awesome.